Imagine standing alone in a field at dawn, knowing that in minutes you'll face a master swordsman who has never lost a duel. No backup, no second chances. Just you, your blade, and the decision you made months ago that brought you here. Most people would crumble, their hands would shake, their mind would fracture, but not Miyamoto Musashi. At age 13, he killed a grown man in combat. By 29, he had won over 60 duels to the death without a single defeat. But here's what's terrifying. Musashi wasn't born with nerves of steel. He was born into chaos, orphaned young, violent, and undisciplined. So how did a reckless boy transform into a warrior whose mental toughness became legendary? The answer isn't talent. It's a system one so brutal and precise that it can turn anyone into someone unshakable. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use it. Musashi's early life was defined by one thing: weakness disguised as aggression. He grew up in 16th century Japan during the Sengoku period, an era of constant warfare where samurai clans fought for survival. His father abandoned him. His village offered no safety. The only language the world spoke was violence, and young Musashi responded the only way he knew how, with raw, unfocused rage. At 13, he challenged a traveling samurai named Arima Kihei to a duel. He won, but not through skill. He won through animal instinct, using a wooden stick to beat his opponent to death in a frenzy. People called him a prodigy. But Musashi knew the truth. He had won by accident. His hands trembled after the fight. His mind was scattered. He had no control, no system, no discipline. He was just a boy who got lucky, and that realization haunted him. Because Musashi understood something most people never do. Talent without discipline is just chaos waiting to collapse. He could see it clearly if he kept fighting the way he was fighting, relying on emotion and adrenaline. Eventually he would face someone better, someone faster, and he would die. The scariest part? He didn't even know who he was without the rage. His identity was built on violence, but violence without purpose is self-destruction. So he made a choice. He would strip himself down to nothing and rebuild from scratch, not as a fighter, as a system. But the path ahead wasn't glamorous. It was brutal. For the next several years, Musashi wandered Japan like a ghost. No master to guide him, no dojo to train in, no community to support him, just him, and the decision to forge himself into something unbreakable. He lost fights, he made mistakes, he faced warriors who nearly killed him. Each defeat taught him something. His emotions were his enemy. Fear made him hesitate, anger made him reckless, pride made him predictable. He realized that most warriors trained their bodies but left their minds wild and chaotic. They practiced strikes and stances, but when the moment of truth came, when steel met, flesh and death became real, their minds betrayed them. They froze, they panicked, they died. Musashi decided he would be different. He would train his mind with the same ruthless precision he trained his sword. But how do you train something as abstract as mental toughness? How do you make your mind obey you the way your muscles do? The answer came to him slowly, through years of solitude and suffering. You don't train your mind to be tough. You remove everything that makes it weak. Musashi didn't go looking for a teacher. He didn't join a fancy dojo or study under a famous master. Instead, he did something most people today would consider insane. He removed every single choice from his life that didn't serve his purpose. He called it Dokodo, the way of walking alone. And it was ruthless. Here's how it worked. Step 1. Eliminate distractions completely. Musashi gave up everything. No home, no possessions beyond his swords and a bowl, no relationships that made him soft. He wandered Japan alone for years, sleeping in caves, under bridges, in the wilderness. Why? Because comfort breeds weakness. Every luxury is a potential distraction, a crack in your mental armor. Every person who depends on you emotionally is a vulnerability an enemy can exploit. Musashi understood that if you want unbreakable focus, you have to remove the things that break it. Think about your life right now. How many tabs do you have open? How many apps are pinging you? How many people are pulling your attention in different directions? How many little comforts have you convinced yourself you need that are actually just draining your mental energy? Musashi had none of that. His environment was clean. His mind was clean. He wrote in his principles, "Do not seek pleasure for its own sake, not because pleasure is evil, but because the pursuit of pleasure makes you soft, and softness gets you killed." Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you're training your mind to take the easy path. And when the hard moment comes, when you need to push through pain, fear, or exhaustion, your mind will default to what you've trained it to do: quit. Step 2. Build through repetition until it's unconscious. Every morning, Musashi would practice the same cuts, the same stances, the same movements thousands of times, not until he got it right, until he couldn't get it wrong. He didn't practice when he felt motivated. He practiced because it was the predetermined action. There was no decision to make. Wake up, train, repeat. This is the secret that separates mental toughness from mental weakness. Discipline isn't about motivation, it's about automation. When you practice something so many times that your body and mind execute it without thought, you remove hesitation. And hesitation is where weakness lives. Think about the last time you faced a difficult task. What happened in your mind? You probably had a conversation with yourself. Should I do this now or later? Do I really need to do this? Maybe I can find an easier way. That internal debate is decision fatigue, and it's killing your mental toughness. Every time you negotiate with yourself, you're giving weakness a voice. Musashi eliminated that voice. His training wasn't up for debate. His standards weren't flexible. His system was fixed, and his mind learned to obey without question. That's not discipline, that's beyond discipline. That's when discipline becomes identity. Step 3. Create fixed responses to every challenge. Musashi developed what he called hyoshi, the rhythm of combat. For every possible attack, he had a predetermined response. Someone swings high, you respond this way. Someone charges, you step here. Someone tries to psychologically intimidate you. You remain expressionless and detached. There was no thinking in the moment, no panic, no decision fatigue, just input and output, action and reaction. He took the chaos of battle and turned it into a flowchart. And here's what's crucial. He did this for life, not just combat. When he felt fear, he had a response. Focus on breath, lower the heart rate, analyze the threat objectively. When he felt doubt, he had a response. Return to first principles, trust the system, execute the next step. When his mind started to wander, he had a response. Redirect attention to the present moment. Observe without judgment, continue. He didn't fight his emotions. He built a structure that made emotions irrelevant. Most people think mental toughness means suppressing fear or pain. That's wrong. Suppression takes energy. What Musashi did was create such a strong structure that fear and pain had nowhere to attach. They would arise, find no response, and dissolve. His mind became like water, adaptive, flowing, but impossible to break. But building this system nearly destroyed him. There were moments in the mountains when the cold bit through his thin clothes, and he wondered if he would survive the night. There were days when hunger made his hands shake so badly he could barely hold his sword. There were fights where he came so close to death that he could taste it. The pain wasn't just physical. The isolation was crushing. Humans are social creatures. We're wired to seek connection, approval, community. Musashi denied himself all of it. He watched other samurai build families, earn honor, serve lords. He had nothing, just his swords and his principles. And there were moments when his mind screamed at him to give up, to find an easier path, to accept that maybe he didn't need to be this extreme. Maybe he could train normally, like everyone else, and still be good enough. But good enough wasn't what Musashi was after. He wanted to become inevitable. He wanted to reach a level where defeat wasn't just unlikely, it was impossible. And that required going further than anyone else was willing to go. So when his body wanted to rest, he trained. When his mind wanted comfort, he denied it. When fear whispered that he was wasting his life, he doubled down on the system. Because he understood something profound. The moment you negotiate with weakness, you've already lost. The moment you tell yourself, just this once, or I'll start tomorrow, or this is too hard, you're reinforcing the neural pathways of failure. Every repetition matters. Every choice compounds. You're either building the structure or tearing it down. There's no neutral ground. In 1612, Musashi was challenged to a duel by Sasaki Kojiro, one of the most feared swordsmen in Japan. Kojiro was everything Musashi was not: refined, technical, backed by a powerful clan. He fought with a blade called the drying pole, so long it gave him an impossible reach advantage. He had trained in the finest dojos under legendary masters. He had wealth, status, and a perfect record. Everyone expected Musashi to die. The night before the duel, Most warriors would be sharpening their blade, praying, preparing mentally. Musashi? He carved a wooden sword from an oar and went to sleep, not because he was arrogant, because his system was complete. There was nothing left to prepare. The outcome was already determined by the years of work that came before. When the day came, he arrived hours late to the agreed location, a remote island called Ganryujima. This wasn't arrogance, it was strategy. He had a predetermined response for psychological warfare: make your opponent burn mental energy waiting. While Kojiro paced the beach, his anger building, his focus fragmenting, Musashi sat calmly in the boat, conserving every ounce of mental and physical energy. When Kojiro saw Musashi finally step off the boat, his fury was visible. His rhythm was already broken, his mind was already compromised. Musashi had won before drawing his weapon. They faced each other. Kojiro drew his impossibly long blade, a weapon that had killed dozens of men, each death a masterpiece of precision. Musashi held a wooden oar, still rough and unfinished. The crowd watching from the cliffs expected a long, technical battle between masters. It lasted 8 seconds. Kojiro attacked with a perfect strike, the kind that had killed dozens of men, and Musashi moved. Not frantically, not desperately. He moved with the kind of calm precision that comes from 10,000 repetitions. He stepped just far enough that Kojiro's blade passed a fraction of an inch from his head. In the same motion, without hesitation or thought, he brought the wooden oar down on Kojiro's skull with devastating force. Kojiro fell. He tried to rise, slashing upward in a final, desperate attack. The blade cut through Musashi's headband but missed his flesh. Musashi struck again. Kojiro collapsed and didn't move. One exchange, 2 strikes. A legend was born. But here's what's terrifying, witnesses said. Musashi's face showed nothing. Not excitement, not relief, not even satisfaction, nothing. Because to him, this wasn't a life or death battle. It was just another execution of the system. He had removed so much internal chaos through years of discipline that even death couldn't rattle him. There was no fear to overcome because there was no fear to begin with. Just calm, just structure. Just the inevitable outcome of preparation meeting opportunity. After killing the greatest swordsman in Japan, Musashi bowed, cleaned his wooden sword, and walked back to the boat. He never spoke about the duel, never celebrated, never claimed it as his greatest achievement, because it wasn't. The greatest achievement was becoming the kind of person for whom such a victory was inevitable. That's the transformation. Discipline had become instinct. Toughness had become identity. The system had become self. Now, let's talk about you. You're not going to fight duels to the death. You're not going to wander Japan as a ronin, but you are fighting battles every single day. Battles against distraction, laziness, fear, doubt, comparison, comfort. Battles against the version of yourself that wants to quit, take the easy path, stay comfortable, stay average. And here's the truth that most people never accept. You're losing those battles because you're relying on motivation instead of system. Motivation is a feeling, feelings fade. System is structure, structure doesn't care how you feel. Think about your life right now. How many times have you started something with incredible motivation? A workout routine, a business idea, a creative project, only to abandon it weeks later when the motivation disappeared? How many times have you told yourself, this time will be different, only to repeat the same patterns? It's not your fault. You were never taught the real secret. You were sold the lie that you need to find your why, or stay motivated, or believe in yourself. But Musashi didn't win 60 duels because he believed in himself. He won because he built a system that made winning automatic. So let me give you the same principle Musashi used, adapted for your life. Step 1. Eliminate one major distraction completely for 30 days. Not reduce it, eliminate it. Pick the thing that pulls your focus, the most social media, streaming services, video games, pointless conversations, toxic relationships, news consumption, and remove it from your environment completely. Delete the apps, block the websites, create physical distance if necessary. Not because you'll never enjoy it again, but because you need to prove to yourself that you can function without it. You need to experience what your mind feels like when it's not constantly fragmented. Most people have never experienced true focus because they've never removed distractions long enough to know what it feels like. Comfort breeds weakness. Cut it out. Step 2. Build one non-negotiable daily practice and execute it for 90 days straight. Choose one thing you will do every single day, no matter what. Could be 50 push-ups, could be 10 minutes of reading, could be writing one page, could be practicing a skill, could be cold showers. The specific content doesn't matter as much as the consistency and non-negotiability. Do it every day at the same time, in the same way, with the same standards, no exceptions, not for holidays, not for bad days, not for inconvenience. The point isn't just the activity itself, it's training your mind to obey your decisions without negotiation. After 90 days, something shifts. It stops being a discipline you have to force. It becomes part of your identity. You become the kind of person who does this thing, the same way Musashi became the kind of person who trains, regardless of conditions. Step 3. Create a fixed response to your biggest weakness and drill it until it's automatic. What breaks you? Is it the urge to check your phone first thing in the morning? Is it the voice that says, just one more episode when you should be sleeping? Is it the fear before a hard conversation or difficult decision? Is it the urge to quit when something gets difficult? Whatever it is, script your response in advance. When X happens, I will do Y. No thinking, no negotiating, no, maybe just this once. Just execution. For example, when I feel the urge to check my phone in the morning, I will immediately do 50 push-ups instead. Or, when I feel fear before a difficult conversation, I will take 3 deep breaths, remind myself of my values, and speak the truth regardless of the outcome. Or, when I want to quit during a workout, I will count to 3 and do 5 more reps. Write these responses down, review them daily, visualize executing them, then when the moment comes, execute without thought. Over time, these responses become automatic. Your weakness loses its power because you've already decided how you'll respond. This is how you build mental toughness, not through willpower, through architecture. You're not trying to be stronger than your weaknesses. You're building a structure that makes weakness irrelevant. Musashi spent the last years of his life alone in a cave called Raigando, writing The Book of 5 Rings, his manual, on strategy, discipline, and the warrior's path. He had no students, no wealth, no legacy beyond his words. He owned nothing. He had conquered everything. In that cave, he wrote 21 principles for living called the Dokudo. Among them, accept everything just the way it is. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. These weren't philosophical ideas to him. They were the operating system that made him unbreakable. He wrote, "You can only fight the way you practice, not the way you hope to fight, not the way you think you'll fight when it matters, the way you practice. Because when pressure arrives, when stakes are high, when fear is real, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. Your mind is a weapon, but right now for most people it's untrained, undisciplined, pulled in 1,000 directions by algorithms, obligations, and other people's agendas. The question is, are you going to keep living that way, or are you going to build a system?" The path Musashi walked wasn't easy. It cost him everything comfortable, but it gave him something most people never experience: complete control over himself. No fear, no doubt, no weakness that could be exploited, just calm, clear purpose, and the structure to execute it. You don't need to go live in a cave. You don't need to give up relationships or pleasure entirely. But you do need to understand this. Every choice is either building your structure or eroding it. Every moment of discipline strengthens the system. Every moment of weakness tears it down. There's no neutral ground. You're either becoming unbreakable or you're becoming fragile. The world doesn't reward motivation. It rewards systems. It rewards people who show up when they don't feel like it. It rewards people who execute regardless of circumstances. It rewards people who have trained themselves so thoroughly that excellence isn't a choice, it's the only option they've left themselves. If you want more strategies for building unbreakable discipline and mental toughness, subscribe to this channel. We're on a journey to master the inner game, and I want you on it. We're going to study warriors, monks, philosophers, and modern performers who figured out how to build minds that nothing can break. The path starts now. Walk it alone if you have to. That's where the real transformation happens.